Hi creative friends, this is Rhea and thank you so much for being here. So I left this alone for a few days and now coming back to it, I am so loving all of these delicious blues. Now I wouldn't normally think to overwhelm my palette with all of these cool colors because I generally tend to gravitate towards the hotter and hottest color palette. But you know, I am so loving I cannot even explain the beauty and generosity of these blues. And I use the word generosity because it might seem out of place, but it is giving me so much joy just looking at it. And normally I tend to go for the ultramarines, but all of this luscious cerulean, turquoise, aqua kind of it reminds me of I don't know, of the Mediterranean Sea. I am just so in love with it. Now, what I did before I turned my camera on is I did get some of my handmade collage pieces and I kind of tried to place them in different parts of the spread. Now, I do still want to keep this and I decided that I'm going to cover up the owl. I thought briefly about, you know, letting it show and then even just attaching it on the bottom and then I could kind of peek at it. But then I decided, you know, I want to cover it up. I know it's there and it's kind of like a little secret. So over here, I decided to cover up this yellow. I do have the yellow that's already on this piece of collage and it's going to pick up on the yellow over here, and there's just a tiny bit of yellow here that I'm not sure if the camera can pick up on it, but there's just a sliver of it over here, and I'm probably going to add a little bit more to the piece. Now this is another way for me to illustrate how when I say that when you make a piece of collage, it may not look like anything on its own, but when you put it in the right context, it really brings everything to life. And before I turned the camera on, I went through a lot of different pieces of my collage and I tried to fit, you know, something. I wanted it on the hair because I want to move my eye around and I still need one more piece. And the reason why I did that before I turned the camera on is because I didn't want the camera to be like, I didn't want to have you guys like, you know, spend 20 minutes of me going through all pieces of my collage. I also picked this piece over here, which I really am loving, but I don't want it to be so big. So I think I'm just going to like kind of, you know, just break off little pieces here. And I'm really loving that. And I love the yellow that it's picking up on there. So I am just so in love with this spread. And one of the number one reasons that it's so important to, you know, be in beginner's mind. And when we work like this, where we're incorporating another artist's visual language into your own, is because, you know, to think that I would use 95% of my palette to be blues, a very cool spread, and to have like this particular blue as well, I wouldn't think to do that. Like, you know, it wouldn't naturally occur to me to kind of think, oh, well, I'm gonna, you know, dominate my page with cools. But in this spread, it just works. And it, by juxtaposition, makes the faces really pop. So if I had, you know, been like not open to it, I would have wanted to come in here and, you know, maybe turn all of these blues into a darker blue or maybe insert more warmer colors into the mix. But I try to just be open to the possibilities of where the page wanted to go. Okay, you guys, I'm gonna stop my blabbing on and I'm gonna get to work here. So the first thing I'm gonna do is just lay down my collage. And I did go back and forth with the, you know, not knowing if I should cover up the owl or keep it, but then I came back to it after a few days and I'm like, you know what? No, I want to cover it up. Just because, you know, this is a children's book, and to me, it kind of reads as a bit too, not childlike, because I do love the work of Chagall, and his work is very childlike, but it kind of read as a bit childish, so I decided to not include it. And I'm really loving this piece of collage here. And that's just a great way that I can, you know, put my visual language into the piece and just bring some interest and unexpectedness. Now, I may need to get my hot glue gun for this because this is actually a piece of collage that's on a thicker piece of paper. It might be mixed media or watercolor paper, so I don't know if it's gonna sit down on here, and I might need to hot glue it. And I don't have my hot glue gun turned on, so I'm just gonna kind of see what happens. It may or may not stick. And I really did love this piece of yellow in the hair, but then when I came back to look at it, I wasn't really feeling it. So, you know, things change. You might like something one day and then you come back to it a few days later and you're like, oh no, I don't like that anymore. And that's totally fine. It's all part of the creative process. At least it is for me. Okay. So I might have to come back later and hot glue this down if it starts coming up. And what I want to do is, let me see here. Right away, I'm gonna add some of the brown to the hair. And I also have my Sharpie over here, and you guys, sometimes I just need a Sharpie for these, like, you know, really bold lines. And there's nothing wrong with using whatever you have on hand, or if you want a particular effect. Like sometimes I want a very scratchy look, and I just use a ballpoint pen, just a regular ballpoint pen. It doesn't have to be artist quality, or anything like that, because, you know, well, first of all, this is just for the purposes of me learning. But even in my art journal, you know, I'm fine with things not being 100% archival or anything like that. Generally, you have to worry about those types of things if you're going to be selling your work, because you want it to last. But if you're just doing it in your art journal, you know, I don't really care if it's archival. Most of my stuff is, but sometimes I just use whatever I need to use. I am just so loving the way the blues really make all of these warms just sing. They really give it so much power by contrast. Now, I don't know if I want to keep this blue because it's too, you know, it's the same color as this blue. So I think I want to kind of make this stand out a little bit. So I don't want to use yellow, but I might want to use like my chalk paint in cashew, and let's see if that's gonna work. Yeah, I think it kind of picks up on this moon over here and the collar. So you guys, I just want to give out, I just want to give a shout out to Connie Solera, because honestly, if she had not made her art journal and explained how working in collaboration with the images on the page, if she had not explained that, I never would have thought of doing this. And this has been one of my greatest learning experiences, just working in this way. It's incredibly freeing and just bountiful in all the lessons that it continues to teach me. Now, I don't know if I want to keep that white. I'm not really digging it. But I don't want to go with yellow because, you know, I want this yellow to pop. So, I think I might actually go with some orange. I'm just kind of feeling it, I guess. And this spread is large enough that it's still going to be a very blue dominated spread. Like, it's just that it's pretty large, and I'm just gonna add orange to this small piece here. Oh yeah, I'm really liking that. And generally when I use my orange blue combo, I stick to the like a very rich, bold, clean orange and my ultramarine blue. But this orange here is mixed in with the chalk paint in cashew, so it's not as dark. And also this blue over here is a different blue than the ultramarine. So I'm actually really kind of enjoying this. It's just different than what I normally do. And I think when it dries, I'm just gonna add another coat and deepen some of it, maybe. And I'm gonna drag some of it over here. And I thought about putting some oil pastels on here, and I don't know if I want to do that or not. Part of me is kind of saying yes, and part of me is like, I don't know if I want to introduce that. So let me just see here. I think I'm gonna use this black here. I'm gonna move it a little bit around the page. See, it picks up on the black marks here. So you guys, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna end the video now, and I'm not gonna film the completion of this, and the only reason why is because I don't think I have a lot to do. I might have to hot glue these pieces down. I might draw in some facial features, but for the most part I feel like it's done. I love it. I've learned so much. I'm probably gonna figure out like a month from now or whenever that I've learned even more than I actually understand right now. But what I'll do is, you know, I am going to be working on other spreads in this book. So when I do another spread, I will come back to this and I'll say, hey, you know, this is the completed version, but I don't think it's going to be enough for me to film it. But, you know, I hope that you have been inspired by this to work in this way in your own little book that you repurpose. So if you've watched all the way to the end, thank you so much. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.